Welcome. Today I have the privilege of speaking with Harvey Lee, the author of Backstage Pass, which is the book we've been reading this month. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us the backstory about your book.
The backstory.
A little bit behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Well, do you know where I wrote this book?
Where?
Right. I wrote this book whilst my kids were doing taekwondo classes.
Oh,
So
that's time
every
efficient.
so every writer will tell you that they have a process or they're superstitious, so they put a special hat on, or I don't know, they do something when they're going into writing mode. My writing mode was every week, every weekend, there was a 2 hour window. This is before lockdown, when my kids would go and do taekwondo, and I would sit in the cafe at the leisure centre and I would take my laptop and I would write. And that would be my dedicated writing time. So this book got written while my kids were in class. And
Oh,
I was
that's
just
great.
I was just doing dad's taxi, right? And which is why it took 4 years because we had a pandemic in the middle of it. But c'est la vie. What else would you like to know about writing? I can talk to you all day.
Oh, I love the topic of writing. Just yeah, we could do this all day. So during the pandemic, were you able to dedicate more time? Did that speed you up or slow you down?
It slowed me down. I have a lot of friends or a lot of peers who actually ended up writing books. They became
Mhm.
their quote unquote pandemic project. So
Yes.
there's I had quite a lot of peers put books out, around the end of the pandemic. They were like, well, I was at home, I don't have kids and or whatever. And it's like I had some free time, so I knocked a book out. And
Mhm.
but for me, it was completely the opposite. We were too busy with no school. They say homeschooling, I say no schooling.
Yes.
Too busy managing all that nonsense. So and I was working almost two jobs full time at the same time. So I had a full time contract and I was working for the PMA consulting and teaching evenings and weekends too. So it was really busy. And then we had everyone at home as well, and everything was going on that everybody knows about. So the book was already two-thirds written before it happened. And I didn't write for a year. So it sat on my computer for a year, and it was actually my wife who said to me when it was all coming to an end and things were starting to look vaguely normal. She said, "You know what? You should really finish that book." And it took me because I lost the rhythm.
I can't put it down for that length of time and then just pick it back up. So
Yeah. So
I imagine that was hard to
it,
get back
it
into
was
it.
really difficult to get back into the rhythm of it. And we didn't have the classes on Saturday mornings anymore. So it's like getting into the rhythm was like, sheesh, what am I going to do? So I actually just had to use brute force within myself to make it happen. So I'd
Mhm.
sit in the front room on my computer, close the door, say to my wife, don't talk to me all night. Take the kids to bed. I'll be up late. Don't wait up. And I would do that twice a week until it was finished. Right. So twice a week, I'd block my time out of calendar and go, okay, I'm going to go and write. And most of the time once I got going, it would flow. Occasionally I'd get writer's block and it's just like, I can't do it because I was working full time at the time as well.
Mm.
And then that wasn't the hardest part actually. So we got it finished, but the hardest part was the editing process
I was
because
going to ask you about that because it's hard because you feel like you've just poured your soul out. You put all this work into this project.
uh,
You're kind of done with it, but it
yeah,
still needs work.
but you're not. That's the
Yeah,
problem with it. So the writing part is the easy part. The
right.
editing part is the hard part. So even though it took 2 years to write and a year off, so 3 years in total, it took an extra year to edit it. Part of that was I didn't know what to expect and I just sort of threw myself at it. I did a very, very rigorous editing process, very rigorous. Um, Partially out of paranoia that it couldn't be wrong because it was going into print. This is not digital. I can't go in and edit it. It's going into print. So
Mhm.
there's failure is not an option. So we did some proofreads. I did multiple proofs. I read the book 40 times
Mhm.
before it was right. Right.
That sounds about right.
I hired three professional proofreaders and I had 12 volunteer proofreaders as well.
Okay.
So Lord knows how many revisions that we went through, revision after revision after revision. So my editor did the first two. So she did a top line edit for sort of consistency and structure. Then she did a second edit, which was a line edit. So literally line by line. but not grammar, just line by line. And I thought naively, I thought, that's it. She's done a line edit. We're done. Right. And it's like, oh, nowhere close to being done. And I started reading it thinking, oh, the grammar, the inconsistency. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then we went into review after review after review after review, and then typos and so on and so forth. But what was really interesting was because the story's true, and because other people are quite vested in the book, people who are in the book, people that know the story that I worked with years ago, we got into correction edits, like this fact checking. So this fact is not true. This person's not alive anymore. This number's not right. So again, the reviews went into fact checking. But the most surprising part of it was the libel part, because there was one story in the book. I won't tell you what the story is, but there was one story in the book that I was actually concerned about myself. The rest of it, I wasn't so concerned. Nobody questioned 30 people read it and nobody said, Harvey, you could get sued, right? Nobody said it. People thought it, but no one said it to me, right? I think they probably didn't want to upset me or derail the project. But I had this moment, I was thinking, there's one story in the book that I know this person probably would take umbrage to what I've written, even though it is completely true, doesn't mean that you can't get into trouble. The truth can get you into trouble. The truth can get you into trouble, right?
Lots
So,
of trouble.
so I talked to my family lawyer, and he said, "Oh, don't worry. I know someone in publishing who's a libel lawyer. She's worked for big publishers." Long story short, I hired her. She read it through, and I had to do 4 rewrites.
Oh, wow.
We redlined after it was edited. We had to redline the backside off this thing. Um, this is a risk. This is a risk. This is a risk. Let's talk about this risk. This is a risk. This has to change. This has to change. There was just to give you an idea about how much detail we had to go in to sort of dot the I's and cross the T's on this thing. I had to do an audit of who was still alive and who was dead. Right. This is pretty morbid, isn't it? But this is the level of detail you have to go into when you write a book like this. And the reason for this is that if you write something, no matter how true it is, about somebody who's alive, there's always a risk. So you have to really measure what you say it in the right way, etc., etc. And I'm not set out to upset anybody with this book, deliberately not set out. It's not that kind of book.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's always a risk, right? Like you say, when you talk about the truth, there's always a risk. And when people are dead, the risk goes down because legally there's nothing that can happen to you, right?
Okay.
Their estate can't come for you, their relatives can't say anything, they can't do anything, and so on and so forth. So I had to do an audit of the births, deaths, and marriages register in the country to find out who was still alive and who wasn't. And I ordered certificates to have as evidence. I mean, this is the level to which I had to go, and some of the certificates proved I was correct, and some of them proved that I was wrong, and I had to do a rewrite. So, these things take time. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Would
That's writing a book for you.
would you recommend doing that at the start? Would you shift the timeline based on
Yeah,
what?
I think if I was going to do it over, I would have been more cognizant, more aware
Mhm.
of do it as you go. Um, but this was after the fact. I mean, I'd already finished the book and then sent it to Laura, and then she tore it apart.
Yeah,
Tore certain sections of it. But anyhow, it was a great partnership, and we got it redone in about 6 weeks. But it was, getting a lawyer to sign off on it was quite the thing. But it's not that kind of book. It's not so sensational that I'm trying to ruin people's lives. It's not like that at all.
not at all. It's very
No, no.
upbeat, in fact.
Yeah, exactly right. But names have been changed.
Mhm.
Situation, it is 100% true. But as I say in the author's note, and I probably have to finish on this point, um, uh, these are all my recollections. I don't set out to take anybody down. Nobody should be upset, but some names have been changed to protect people's identities, right?
I think that's wise. Now, did you
Yeah,
put a disclaimer in the book to
it is.
basically to
It's on the
further
front.
protect yourself?
Exactly. So the disclaimer is the author's note in the front page, and that was written by my lawyer.
Perfect. Now, did you self-publish or did you work with a publisher?
Yeah, no, I self-published. I did consider working with a publisher long before I made the decision. I submitted to some literary agents as well. Spoke to a few of them, and then I looked at the business case. I spoke to colleagues over at Nielsen and a few other places, people that I know in the publishing industry, about what was the pros, what was the cons, and I came to the conclusion pretty quickly, and thankfully because of my marketing background that helped a lot. I came to the conclusion pretty quickly that actually there's not an enormous amount of benefit for me right now being with a major publisher, because I still need to build my author's platform. I still need to be as active as I am right now in promoting it. And I quickly learned, apart from the commercial side of it, which is a disaster, um, which it is for any author, I quickly learned that actually, if I was able to get a literary agent who was then able to get me a publishing deal, this book probably wouldn't come out for another 4 years.
Oh, that long. I
Yeah.
understood more like 2 years.
Well, it's 2 years once you sign a publishing deal, but it can take you up
Okay.
to 4 years to get a literary agent, and you can't get a publishing deal without a literary agent.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
publishers don't take submissions directly. So
Mhm.
I'm like gonna be too old. It's
Yeah,
like it's
truly.
like I'm gonna look like Santa Claus by the time this thing comes out. So I'm like, you know what? For the sake of expediency, I'm going to do it myself.
Mhm.
But I put such a great team together. I'd probably say it's certainly the quality of a published book. You would never know it's self-published.
Oh, no. It feels like you had a publisher.
Yeah, well, it is. It's me. I'm the
Oh,
publisher.
true. Yeah. And you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I do, thankfully, yeah. And I put it out on all, which is something very unusual. I put it out on all formats on the same day, which most publishers would never do. So on the same, when it came out on the 14th of February, it came out on hardback, paperback, Kindle, and audiobook all on the same day. So if you go to the product page on Amazon, you'll see all four formats there, right?
Mhm.
And that was like day one. Publishers never ever do that. So what's
That's it.
interesting about big publishers is that they usually just do hardback and Kindle first. The reason for that is it's purely commercial, right? So hardback, you make more profit on it. You get all
Mhm.
your early adopters paying more money for it. The Kindle version is easy to produce, so it's low to no cost to have it available. So it's kind of not free money, but it's easy money. The paperback version usually requires reformatting to there's a cost associated because it's a smaller size. So they have to
Mhm.
reformat the whole thing. So it's a whole new production line for the paperback. I
Wow.
made a commercial decision. My layout manager was really helpful. When we were talking about format, she said, you know what, if you do the paperback and the hardback in the same size, there'll be no extra cost. So that's what we did. The
Mhm.
decision made itself. And like I only had to lay it out once, and I could have hardback and paper. I just had to change the cover. So, but that's not usually how it goes. So most self-published books are paperback only and Kindle from a from a cost production point of view. But I went
Mhm.
all in. I did what I do, and I threw myself at it. And I'm like, nah, sounds too cheap. I'm just going to do everything.
Yeah.
So we found a way to do hardback, paperback. I did the audio book myself.
That was my next question. How
Yeah,
did
I did
that
it.
go?
I did it in here. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I did it in the studio, and that was a lot of fun. So that's up on Audible as well, and getting great feedback on that. So I
Mhm.
did that, and I went to a book seminar from Nielsen, who do all the book data for this in the UK, to learn, what formats to do, what not to do, so on and so forth. And I came out of it thinking, because I wasn't going to do an audiobook version because it sounded like too much like hard work for not a lot of return. And I came out of it thinking, actually, it's the only format that's getting more popular.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah. So print media is kind of static in
Mhm.
books. So hardback and paperback is kind of static. Kindle's kind of static-ish, growing a little bit. But audiobooks is the format that's growing the fastest out of all of them at the moment in a static market. And I just thought I need to make it. If I'm going to find an audience, I need to make the book as accessible as possible.
That is
Right?
true.
I need to make it accessible as possible. And to do that, I need to have it on all four formats.
Mhm.
People consume things now in a different way, whether it's electronically, whether it's analog, or whether it's, through
Mhm.
audio. the story can still be told. And what I've also found from an inclusivity point of view is I've had quite a few people ask me, is it on Kindle and is it on audiobook? Because they want both. So people who are dyslexic, here's an interesting fact for you. People who are dyslexic like to have the print book, but like to listen to it as they look at the words.
Oh, I
So that
didn't realize that.
so they can connect the words with what they
Mhm.
hear because they don't always understand what the words are because they're
Right.
confused. And people with ADHD also have a similar problem in terms of
Mhm.
concentration for like reading media. So if they can read it and hear it at the same time, they find it easier on their cognitive load. So yeah, I found that I'd learned about this after the fact. I just thought, well, I'm glad I made the decision to
It
do it
sounds
anyway.
like you made the right decision.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
a commercial decision, but it had a happy outcome at the end. So
Mhm.
at the end of the day, reaching the biggest audience possible is really what it's about. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to do anything that was going to put that in jeopardy.
I love that. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you feel like, that you would like to share about this whole process?
It's hard. If you're an author or you think you want to write a book, don't let me be the one to dissuade you. um, Buy my book and try to feel the inspiration and see what's possible. It's totally possible to produce a great high quality piece of work on all formats and do it yourself, but you have to dedicate yourself to the work and and learn the process. And there's places to go. I'm thinking about writing a book about making a book because there's a gap in the market for the process I've been through, which is the marketing of it, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I'm thinking about doing that for my third book.
I
Um,
think you should definitely do that.
yeah, I just don't know when I'm going to get around to doing it, but it's going to have to be sooner rather than later, I think.
Again, self-publishing so you can work quicker.
Probably, more than
Yes,
likely. Yeah,
more than likely. Well,
yeah.
make sure you give me a copy because these are great for the book club.
There's no doubt. And I hope that everybody in the book club enjoys it. If they've got any questions or they want to send me a message, I'm not very hard to find on the internet, so
Wonderful. Well,
get in
thank you
touch.
again for your time. We really appreciate it.
No, really, really my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on, Catherine.